I had become fluent in my own satisfaction. By 28, I understood every contour, every delicate nerve, every rhythm that brought results. My evenings followed a well-worn pattern: dim lighting, familiar methods, and the dependable release only I could provide. It was easy, predictable, safe. My world of pleasure was a solo performance, controlled, quiet, and rehearsed. Then came Ethan. We crossed paths at a friend's rooftop gathering in Chicago. His smile came without effort. His words flowed like conversation with someone I'd known for years. But when our hands brushed as we reached for the same cocktail napkin, something unexpected sparked. A quiet surge of energy pulsed through me, settling low in my belly. It wasn't just interest. It was the strange, unsettling awareness that he might know my body better than I did. That first night unraveled every expectation I had. Where others rushed, Ethan lingered. His hands moved across my skin like a traveler exploring unfamiliar terrain, mapping places I hadn't known were there. When his lips touched the hollow of my throat, I gasped, not just from the sensation, but from the shock of being seen, felt, and known in such a raw way. "Let go," he murmured against my neck, his voice low and rough. For the first time I wanted to. The control I'd always gripped so tightly loosened as he showed me something new. Pleasure as a duet, not a solo act. That night I stumbled into something both terrifying and beautiful. My body responded in ways I hadn't imagined possible, but only because I let someone else lead. His room carried the scent of sandalwood and lazy Sunday mornings. The moonlight spilled silver across the bed as I lay there, suddenly aware of every inch of exposed skin. The room was quiet, but my thoughts weren't. They raced with unfamiliar vulnerability, questions I'd never asked, and sensations I'd never named. I realized, with a clarity that startled me, that I didn't know how to be touched by someone who wasn't in a hurry. Ethan's hands moved differently. Where I would rush to familiar places, he explored the in-between. The underside of my wrist, the curve between my ribs, the tender spot behind my knee that drew a sharp gasp. Every touch asked a question. None demanded an answer. When his mouth finally brushed my bare shoulder, I tensed, not from fear or discomfort, but from the sheer unfamiliarity of such unhurried tenderness. His lips moved slowly along my collarbone, pausing as if to memorize the taste of me. I hadn't realized how much pressure I carried until it melted under his touch. The weight of years, expectations, and guardedness seemed to slip from my shoulders like discarded clothing. I inhaled sharply as his palm traveled lower. This wasn't routine. It wasn't mechanical or practiced. It felt sacred, like devotion. Every motion seemed to say, "I see you. I'm listening. I want to know." When his fingers slipped lower, moving with aching gentleness, something shifted inside me. I understood pleasure could be shared. Not taken, not chased, but offered. Between the brush of his mouth at my thigh and the words he whispered into the dark, I lost my grip on time. I forgot to control the tempo. I forgot to hold back. I forgot myself entirely. I had always approached intimacy like a formula. Precise, repeatable, reliable. But Ethan worked in something softer, more artistic. His touch was not an equation, but a stroke of color, a melody. He drew feelings across my skin I couldn't have predicted. That night, as he traced slow, meaningless shapes across my stomach, I understood something with aching clarity. I'd never really been touched before. Not like this. Not with such unbearable patience. Time warped under the weight of sensation. Every second became a question of how much more I could feel. When his mouth finally reached the most private part of me, I nearly unraveled. Not from the act itself, but from the reverence in how he did it. Like a man savoring a song only he could hear, adjusting every movement with each breath I took. His hand steadied me as I arched upward, my fingers gripping the sheets as if they were the only real thing left. I'd stood at this edge before, but always alone. Always with one hand on the wheel. Now, with his tongue tracing impossible patterns and his hands guiding me, I stood at a new edge. Place without maps or logic. The pressure inside me coiled tighter, hotter, more insistent than ever. It was like holding my breath and being kissed by a storm. "Look at me," he whispered into the quiet, and when I did, the look in his eyes stole the air from my lungs. It wasn't just desire, it was something deeper. An invitation. Wow. His gaze held me like a promise I didn't realize I'd been waiting for. Then it came, fast and unrelenting. A wave that pulled me under and pushed me higher than I knew I could go. I cried out not just from release, but from the fear and joy of being known so completely. His lips curved against my skin with a smile I didn't need to see to feel. It started as a soft vibration, deep and distant, but grew louder under his touch. What once might have gone unnoticed was now an earthquake. I held onto the sheets as the second wave crested, rising from my toes through my limbs, climbing higher with each breath. This wasn't the sharp, solitary finish I could give myself. This was deeper, slower, all-encompassing. My world narrowed to Ethan. His breath at my throat, his palm steady over my chest, the heat where our bodies connected. Time fractured into moments. The scrape of his stubble along my thigh. The words he murmured into sweat-damp skin. The friction that built until I couldn't tell where I stopped and he began. When I finally fell apart, it wasn't an end. It was a letting go. A weightless fall through something pure. The kind of fall you don't brace for. You surrender to. I made sounds I didn't recognize. Felt my body respond in ways I couldn't predict or control. And through it all he held me. Grounded me. Spoke softly into the chaos. As the tremors softened and faded, I understood. This wasn't just about release. It was about trust. About flight. And something more. Being seen entirely and without armor. Morning sunlight spilled across the messy sheets, casting gold over the places where we still touched. I watched the slow rise and fall of Ethan's chest and the way dust shimmered in the air between us. I expected awkwardness, maybe even regret. Instead, there was only quiet wonder, like stumbling into a hidden doorway in a house I thought I knew. His fingers moved across my shoulder in idle, absent circles. Not the hunger of hours before, but something easier. A familiarity that felt more intimate than anything else. I turned into his palm, breathing in the scent of us mingled with clean cotton. Flickers of memory sparked in my mind. His mouth, my voice, the moment when sensation became something else entirely. My body still buzzed with the afterglow. A sweet soreness in places I hadn't known could ache. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, saying nothing. No promises. No declarations. Just presence. Just this. Sunlight. In. And the knowledge that something fundamental had changed. I closed my eyes and listened to the rhythm of his heartbeat under my cheek. This, I realized, was the truest intimacy. Not the fire of discovery, but the soft bravery of being known.